Hi guys, it's Mary, always on the hunt for the right spot to be filming my videos in my new house. And I don't think I'm happy with this angle either, but it's quite dark today. I mean, it doesn't seem dark probably because I'm right beside the window and I'm not used to actually the light that we have in this house compared to the old house. But it's not ideal, and so I don't really know where to put the camera and where I can film, but I will figure it out. In the meantime, I guess you're having a tour of the house, even if I'm not filming one. I didn't film one yet, but since I keep choosing different locations, you're probably gonna see the house this way. Aside from that, let's talk about the books that I've read in the month of January. And I'm actually pretty happy about how this reading month, well, this reading year has started really, because I didn't read many books in January, but I really found the joy of reading again. I mean, I never lost it probably, but sometimes I fall out of love with reading, especially when I have a lot going on and I've been watching lots of TV with the, I don't know, health things. I had health stuff going on, and then also the move, a lot of stuff going on basically. And so I didn't read a lot, I guess, in the last months of last year. But this year, I'm very happy. I read four books, yes, and I DNF'd one in the month of January, but I feel like I'm so energized and happy to keep reading basically. Let's get out of the way the DNF first, which was The Sealwoman's Gift by Magnusson. This is a historical fiction / fantasy novel. I say / fantasy because actually I made it to 100 pages, which is quite a bit, I think. But I didn't find, I mean, at least there weren't any fantasy elements up until that point. So I don't know if they play, you know, a part later in the book, but I'm just never going to find out. The author of the book is half Scottish and half Icelandic, and I thought it was going to be an interesting look on this real historical event that happened in the 17th century in Iceland, where it's called the Turkish raid, and basically corsairs from Algiers and Morocco abducted nearly 400 people from the coasts of Iceland to sell them into slavery. And that's quite a thing, especially for a country like Iceland, because especially at the time, there weren't a lot of people there. So 400 was a large number. And, you know, being the author herself of Icelandic descent, I thought it could be an interesting and also sort of personal look at this event. But the problem of this book mainly was the writing style. And after 100 pages, that was just not going to change. I felt like it was a bit choppy and confusing, and she used the third-person omniscient narrator, and you couldn't really tell whose point of view you were following. She would switch point of views abruptly, and it just disoriented me. So I wasn't liking that, and also I didn't care about any of the characters. The backbone of the book is that event, but then you're following Asta, the wife of this pastor called Olafur. I don't think that's how you pronounce his name, Olafur. And she's pregnant when she gets abducted together with her husband and two of their children, and you know, other people from their family, and you're following them basically. But I didn't really care about any of them. I just this was just not for me. And to me, DNFing has always been very hard, and I find that now I'm not finding it that hard, to be honest. So I'm happy because this really frees my mind, the thought that I can DNF a book, that I gave this book, you know, a solid chance, but it just wasn't working for me, and I'm not willing to spend any more time on it. So this is going. Next up we have Mary Poppins by P.E.T. Travers. I watched earlier, this, I think it was probably in December actually, I watched Saving Mr. Banks on Disney Plus, and so the story is how Mary Poppins, the movie, came to be, the Disney movie, what happened and how Walt Disney had to chase basically the author of the book, because she didn't really want the film to happen. The movie is about this, so how Mary Poppins, the movie, came to be, but also about the author's life. And I did like the movie. I thought it was all right. I didn't love it. It was a bit cheesy. It was a bit movie-esque, I would say. And but I was interested in her life, in the Mary Poppins author life, in Travers' life. And for that reason, I sort of started researching and to look what the film had changed, and I suddenly was curious to check out the book, the actual book, since I didn't even know there was a book actually, and it's a series of books. I think there are 4. I got all of them, but I only read the first one, and I gave it 3 stars. It's nice. I was just, my curiosity has been satisfied, I think, but it's a middle grade book, and I don't particularly love middle grade books. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with them, but mostly they just bore me. And this was a bit like that. I feel like it takes a long time for me to read them, and it's silly because they're very short and easy to go through. I don't think I have to explain what the story is about, but I think this, compared to the movie, I mean the real Mary Poppins movie, I'm not talking about Saving Mr. Banks now, it's a bit more whimsical probably, and more magical, which is, something, because the movie itself is very whimsical. But yeah, this even more so. Small vignettes where you see Mary Poppins and the children of the family having sort of little adventures. Real or not is never quite clear. And the difference is that there's more kids. In the movie, there's only 2 kids. In this, there's those 2 kids and then 2 twins that are basically babies. And yeah, also the character of Mary Poppins, I can see why Travers was not on board with the portrayal of Mary Poppins in the movie, because she's a bit colder in the book, a bit more distant, I would say. Travers says, actually, I mean, I'm not sure it's a direct quote or it's just in the Saving Mr. Banks movie, but she says that Julie Andrews is too pretty to be playing Mary Poppins. And actually, I don't agree with that statement, but I know what she was thinking, in the fact that Julie Andrews' face is just too sweet and loving, while Mary Poppins is a bit more stern, I would say. And I mean, I love how Julie Andrews acts, but I don't think she can ever be that cold. It's just her face, So yeah, this was nice. I will probably keep reading the series, but I am in no rush to do so. Then, didn't you miss my parenting books? I don't think so, because I think I've been talking about parenting books even in my previous videos. I think in every video that I upload, there is at least a parenting book. I don't know. I don't know how long this is gonna last, but this is, actually I'm holding the Italian translation, but I'm gonna put a picture of the real book, the original version here, and it's the No Drama Discipline by Daniel Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson. I really enjoy this, and I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record now because I keep reading the same things, basically. I think this reminds me of the Thomas Gordon method that I don't remember the name of, but I'm gonna put a picture here. It's like this one, and then more scientific bits about the children's brain and how it develops. And for that reason, actually, I want to check out his other and more famous book called something like The Whole Brain Child, probably, because I thought that it was so interesting, on the scientific side of everything, how children's brains develop and everything. So that's something that I surely want to check out, because about, you know, discipline and no drama, try to, the need to understand children, to, you know, put yourself in their shoes. I think, yeah, I think I got the gist of it. But a reminder is always good, I think. I like that I keep reading these sort of books because they are immensely helpful, and sometimes even if I know, you know, lots of things about parenting and about how to build a strong relationship with your child, it's hard. So, and it's constantly changing. The dynamics are constantly changing. The child is constantly growing. You're growing too. So I feel like I will always have a book of this kind on the go. So yeah, I give it 4 stars. And then I didn't think, like, I was actually going to upload this video or record this video on the 28th of January or the 29th. Because I didn't think it was possible for me to finish any other book in that amount of time. Oh, but this is not the last book that I will talk about, though. It is the last book that I read, but not the last book I'm gonna talk about, because apparently I'm going into the order, you know, from least favorite to favorite book of the month. Well, anyway, the last book that I had read, this is very confusing, I'm so sorry. Anyway, next book that I'm gonna talk about, I read on the last 2 days of January. And it's been a long time since I read a book in 2 days. So it's sort of, I really enjoyed the reading experience, but at the same time, I didn't love the book. So the book is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and this ticks all my boxes. It's a historical fiction / fantasy. I mean, some would say sci-fi novel. I don't necessarily agree. I mean, I know that sometimes they get blurred, you know, sci-fi and fantasy, but to me, since I don't really enjoy sci-fi that much, they have a difference. And this is more on the fantasy spectrum, I would say, because it involves time travel. And that's one of my favorite devices, basically, in books, narrative-wise. And I don't read enough of these books about time travel because I love them. I've always been a sucker for time travel narratives, even in movies or TV shows. I remember, was it for you like a thing outside of Italy? Because I know it's not an Italian TV show. I don't remember where it was filmed though, but I used to watch and love Mirror Mirror. That was amazing, and it involves time travel. And I think that was my first love, time travel wise. Anyway, so Kindred, the book is actually pretty old, and I didn't know it was that old. I mean, I knew that it was an older book, but I didn't know it was a book written in the 70s. But it was written in the 70s, written and set in the 70s in the US. Don't come at me, I don't remember what state is this set in. Anyway, she, Donna is her name. She is a young black woman. She's married to a white man in the 70s, and she gets transported into the past in the early 1800s in the enslaved South. So it's obviously a hard journey for her. It tackles very big topics. And yes, she basically gets transported in order to help this person who seems to be a relative, a distant relative of hers. I can't remember the name. It's not a relative that I wanted to say. It's ancestor, that's it. Her ancestor, a white male, basically. And it's not a great person. He's not a great person. But she gets tangled in his life, and she can't really escape this fate, basically. She goes back and forth, but it's not her that decides where and when to go. There are certain things that make this trip happen, and you'll see if you know, read the book. So the book is extremely readable, and it's very fast-paced. It's very plotty, and that's the main issue with it, even though it was so quick to read and so immersive. I felt like it lacked depth in terms of character development, in terms of relationships explored, and even the sort of technicalities of the time travel thing. I mean, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I thought so much more was going to happen and so much more was going to be explained. And when we were approaching the ending of the book, I was starting to feel, you know, more and more let down by that, because I knew that it wasn't going to be as satisfying as it should be. However, I still gave this book, I think it's a 3/4, probably a 3.5 star read, because it's still very enjoyable, as I said, and it presents themes. And I think from what I read of the author, she sort of, it's very personal to her in trying to understand her own family as well, and to put herself in the shoes of somebody else and failing to do so, or at least for part of her life. And I thought that that was, you know, a good concept, and the idea of this book is great, but as I said, it lacked a bit of depth and a bit of nuance, especially when tackling this sort of very brutal events and what happens when she goes back in time. It's obviously very hard to read. It's very hard to read, and I know that this is going to be a TV show or a movie, probably a TV show, and I feel like it's going to be even worse on screen to watch. But at the same time, probably, I'm hoping that emotion-wise, the actors can convey a bit more than the written page. This actually reads like a YA, which is, I mean, it's not a bad thing per se, but it's just not what I look for in books. And usually with these types of books, I'm thinking this would make a great movie. Usually when I think that, it's not you know, stellar book for me. But I do recommend this book, especially if you sort of are maybe feeling slumpy and you need something to get you going with reading. This is definitely the book for that. Lastly, I have another book that I was forgetting, but it's actually the book that I enjoyed the most in the month of January, and I gave my first 5-star read of the year. Yay, I'm very happy. And it was Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. This is a contemporary novel, and I don't read a lot of I don't usually gravitate towards contemporary novels when I think about it, but yeah, I do read. I don't know why I end up reading them anyway, but this one was extremely good, extremely good. It's so well crafted, well paced. The protagonist of the book is a British photographer. This is narrated in a Geordie accent, and I couldn't hear it because I didn't listen to the audiobook, but you can see on the page, you can sort of feel the accent on the page. I'm not an expert on different, you know, UK accents, but I did detect there was an accent there, and it worked so well. It made the book even more sort of personal. And the protagonist, she's a young woman and she's a photographer. She's known for portraying young, sort of underaged, like borderline underaged males in very explicit positions, and sometimes she inserts herself in the pictures too. So it's a bit, as a theme, is disturbing a little bit, and also this goes places. It's very dark. Sometimes it's also very funny. The protagonist, Irina, that's her name. Irina feels very ruthless and cold. But she's not as distant as it might seem, I think. I mean, I do love distant narrators. I love cold narrators. But she's packing so much inside of her. And you get to know her and her life too, her past and the wounds that she carries and the anger that she has. yes, it's so well done, and I don't have enough praise for this. I really enjoy this, and if it sounds like your cup of tea, it's not an uplifting read, that I must say, but I really enjoyed it, and I do recommend this book to everybody. So yeah, this was my last book, and this is the end of my January wrap-up. I was thinking to talk about also the TV shows that I watch, because I've been watching so many, and the last time I updated you all on my watching list, it was in July, I think, last year. So, but it was too many, so I thought I can just do that in a wrap-up video. I don't know if you're interested. Maybe I should do like a separate video talking about TV shows. I don't know. Anyway, let me know if you read any of the books that I mentioned, or if I convinced you to pick up any of these books, or convinced you not to pick up any of these books. I would love to chat with you in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!